What's up, guys? I'm here at EVO 2018 with the inimitable Prog. Prog, how are you doing?
It's good to be here. I haven't been to a tournament period in a very long time, especially with the Smash community here. It's been a long time. I feel like really re-energized just by being among the people again. It's been a long time.
And you just got in 3 hours ago, so your energy levels just went.
3 hours ago, 2 hours ago, 2 hours ago, yeah, 2 hours ago, and like since I got here, it's basically just been high energy for me. Health-wise, it's probably the best I've felt at an EVO, and like just seeing everyone across all these different games, not just Smash, but seeing all my friends from Marvel, from Street Fighter, so on and so forth, it's doing the body so much good. It's like whole milk right now.
That is so good to hear. Now, unfortunately, because you were delayed and had to go through Florida, you did miss both your pools. So what does that mean for you for the weekend? With no Marvel runs coming from you, what can we expect?
You can expect to find me probably drowning my sorrows in a drink that might be a foot or two long, or maybe Tequila Sunrise, who knows at this point.
Wait, a foot or two is only like, that's
the first one.
Okay.
That's the warm-up. You gotta go for pools before you go to the bracket, And I'm trying to hit top 8 tomorrow night. So.
Right, you didn't get to make pools in a game, so you got to do pools.
I got to swim in one, literally, and then I can, start drowning my sorrows. So.
This is such a basic-ass question, but for me, EVO, Smash, Melee is tied up with you really, really intrinsically. What do you think of when you think of EVO?
Memories. EVO, to me, will always be a tournament of memories, especially because a lot of other series, I guess, just overall, I used to watch Evolution DVDs. I used to watch those time and time with friends, and one day we said, we'd probably go out there and try it, and 4 or 5 years later, after that point, here, I'm trying to get Melee in there, and then just last year, my best friend from my childhood actually came here. So for me, it's always about memories, and memories of people, not just what happens on these screens. One of my big memories is actually probably on the way here right now. 3 players when I went to Temple University. I kind of started, or I was one of the people that started the scene there, and now it apparently is like one of the hubs of Philly Smash. And the first 3 freshman rivals that I made are here this weekend. I'm like, I haven't seen them in like 10 years, and it's just mind-blowing. I'm probably going to cry when I see them. It's been that long.
That's amazing. That's so great. Now, you had some very famous words when we first came back to EVO a few years ago, and you said another year.
One more year.
One more year. Now it's been a few more years since then, but we are once again hearing talk with a new Smash game coming out. Maybe there's not room for us. What do those whispers on the wind make you feel like?
I mean, the name of the tournament is Evolution, so we're always looking for what's going to be the next big wave. In terms of numbers, both Smash games have kind of not returned the same way, but also it's not a community thing. It's more so that community members have opted that they want to go to tournaments that are a bit more catering to the community, that will focus on Smash only. And you can't fault them for that. They want to have the best experience they can as players. But for me, looking at 2018, I very well think this could be Melee's last year. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last year. You look at numbers and viewership, that kind of hole that Melee filled for a long time, and even kind of the same one that Marvel filled. Dragon Ball is doing big things. BlazBlue is doing big. Anime is on this big resurgence right now. It's rare to have 2 games from the same series at EVO represented, and Smash has been fortunate to have it here for a few years now. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last year, and if it is, we're going to do what we did. We came in with a bang 5 years ago. No one thought we deserved to be here, and all these years later, we showed why we're still here. Well, we're still standing, and we have a great community to show for it. And we'll see what comes of it. I'm hopeful for the community, but I also know that a lot of people have been looking within the community for other options and other places to go that kind of would fill a similar hole to this. But in my heart, Evolution is where a lot of this all stems from. All these jerseys, all these teams, all these signings, nothing of that comes into fruition, in my opinion, without EVO, and of course without the documentary kind of building up with that. So we'll see what happens in the future.
So you said it came from there, but do you think it's necessary for Smash going forward? We had that growth. Do you think that's something we need going forward?
You know, need, probably not. However, I will say that you never look down on an opportunity like this. As big numbers as other events put out, like Genesis, Big House, in terms of viewership, in terms of showcasing your event, your scene, your game, what you love to the world, this is a platform. This platform is why a lot of people care about Melee for the first time, let alone people who've come back to the scene. So, you know, I hope that we get a couple more runs for people to fall in love with the game the same way that plenty of others have. But if it's not that way, you know, we've got plenty of years of history to look back on, and we can only smile at it.
You said we came in with a bang. We'll go out with one if it is the end. What does that bang look like to you when you imagine just strike of lightning? What does it look like?
You know, being the historian that I am, it's always the storylines. You know, you got 2 players vying for 3-0, one more trying to tie it. And then you have that second generation of people who are challenging these gods, like Zane, like Plub, so on and so forth. Who's going to stand up? Who's going to rise up above the competition, make it to top 8, make it to that big stage on Sunday? You know, it's storybook because EVO is always a very, very different look from every other event out there. You know, everyone's upset about 2 out of 3. I love 2 out of 3 because you have to adapt so much quicker. You have to be on your game. How many classic sets have we had over the years where that star player makes that 3-0 comeback after being down 2-0? That option is gone now. You have no quarter. You cannot waste a moment. And that pressure, I love that being put on our players. It's another look, and yeah, I'm ready for it.
So you just said, you know, you called yourself a historian. I think most people would agree with that. Do you think that it's the historical aspect of EVO that has kept us hanging on to it for so long, even as our community manages to say, oh, you know what, we actually are served better by X tournament. It's best out of 5. It's Smash dedicated. They don't have us play 8 a.m. pools. You think it's the story of EVO that makes it so valuable?
I think the story of EVO is always going to be a big thing because, you know, when you're comparing out of the Smash bubble and just in the larger scope of esports and competitive gaming as a whole, evolution, the moments, the players, there's nothing like it in the world. There's absolutely nothing like it. Looking out into the crowd. And I think that history is definitely a big part of it, especially, you know, here we are 11 years after our first appearance. And we're here. We're here. Yeah. But for me, you know, I think the history is always going to be a big thing. I know my own personal attachments aside, for a player like Leffen to be mentioned in the same sentence as Sonic Fox, which is, you know, more common since he's doing this thing in Dragon Ball FighterZ, but to hear people talking about those same things and saying, hey, you know, I love Ricky Ortiz, but I'm learning about, you know, a player like Mango or like Plup, and, you know, players from all these different games, Kazunoko. Just the world of competitive gaming and fighting games is all here. And hearing our players treated with the same amount of respect and reverence in an era where, you know, in 2007, you know, PC Chris may have been on SRK posting about wanting against Street Fighter and, oh, you're that Smash guy. We don't want anything to do with you. And now, you know, we have a lot of respect for you. We may not get it, but, you know, we like watching, we understand the storyline, and we're here for you, and I think that's a big part of it. So I think the history and the barriers that have kind of come down over the years between the communities is part of a big reason why we keep coming back.
I think you just said there's nothing like EVO. And I think that is one of the reasons why, no matter how much we know that other tournaments, you know, are more Smash focused, maybe mean just as much, it's the break of all those other Smash tournaments. What they have in common is that they're Smash tournaments, right. And EVO is something different. And you were talking on Twitter the other day about how you want to see more different formats, different types of showcase for the game, more one-on-one things, more invitationals, first to 5, first to 10. Do you have any specific ideas about what that could look like for Smash going forward?
You know, I think we'll actually get a quick glimpse of it maybe even tomorrow night because Twin Galaxies has some Mango versus Armada. Yeah. And, I mean, we've seen glimpses of it in the past. You know, we've had Smash has taken the FGC's salty sweets and run with it in the past. However, for various reasons, I don't say that the fire's gone, but that kind of bubbling to the surface, that kind of emotional attachment, it pops up very rarely, and it's often diffused before players get to play it out. Right. So for me, I do want to see more events that have 2 out of 3 formats. I do want to see more first to 5s. I definitely want to see, more of these grudge matches, bar fight tournaments, things like that. How many different ways can we showcase this game beyond just the standard bracket, 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 bracket? And even beyond that, what are we doing with doubles? Doubles is always underserved, underrated, and it's what can we do to bring hype to Smash in as many different ways as possible? And no shade, nothing at any tournament organizers, because they are the lifeblood that keeps this community alive. But for me, some of my greatest moments, not even on commentary, not even like being there in person, but just the spectacle of those salty sweets, what they meant to the community, what they meant to those rivalries. It's something that hasn't been tapped into in a very long time. I don't say I'm disappointed, but I definitely want to see more of it.
Well, it's something so interesting to bring back, because when you look at the reasons why they're not happening, I've been someone who has tried to organize those salty sweets before. When you page Leffen and say, hey, we will put you up for an $1,000 money match versus Westballs, Leffen says, no thanks, I want to focus on winning the tournament. So I think it's a really interesting dichotomy, because we think of that as something really grassroots, but it's actually very frequently the players themselves who don't want to do that. So how do you think we can incentivize matches like that to happen going forward?
I think it's always about building from the ground up. A big part of that is if, for example, Leffen is an A-lister in this community, no question. You don't have to always go for the A-lister when it comes to those kind of events. One of the most interesting sets I had, not saying these guys aren't A-listers now, but Kage and Amsa, that set, that exhibition was, I still can't believe that happened all these years later. Yeah. But there are players who are in the top 100. It may not be your top 10, but they have something to prove against one another. Why not match them up as the high-level people of the night? Because also you're building their following, you're building interest in them. Guys like Leffen, Armada, Hungry Box, they might not want to do it, sure. And what do they really have to gain from it beyond an additional cherry on top of whatever they'll be making that weekend? But for a player who's trying to break out, is trying to show the world they're there, what better ways to say that than, hey, Tien, I'm Taco, let's play. DJ, Amsa, let's play. Let's just showcase players who are at a level where they think they're at the top 100, or they got jerked. They didn't make it in there, but they think they're good enough. If they have that kind of pride where they want to prove that, and there's room for it, I think we should go for it. And
what better way for some up-and-coming organization or streaming company to make a name for themselves, right? So, segue. What do you think about Fendi versus Scar?
You got to do it to me. I don't know how in practice Scar is. However, I've known Scar for over 10 years now. And when Scar gets that one touch, it doesn't matter. You saw me play a little bit earlier. My fingers are completely gone. But this doesn't fade. That doesn't fade. And Scar is still a brilliant player, but if he gets too heavy into the bulldog mindset and Fendi catches him sleeping with a bad approach, he's going to punish him super hard for it. And I think, Fendi is kind of, how do I put this? This
is your neighbor you're talking about here.
No, so I gotta be nice. He doesn't knock over anything in my apartment when he visits. But with Fendi, he's not always the most aggressive player, I'll say. But Scar will definitely make that up in spades for him. So it's just a matter of who's going to impose their will, who's going to space better, and who's going to be able to adapt in that kind of set. Fendi has played in a lot of stuff, but exhibitions, things like that, that's a new school thing. Or that's not a new school thing. It's something that Fendi probably hasn't lived through at this point, or at least lived through live. Scar's been in that situation plenty of times against players who have been top 10 across multiple generations of the game. So I wouldn't sleep on Scar at all, but Fendi wouldn't surprise me if he pulls it out.
You know, when I talked to Scar, actually, one of the things he said about it is he's very dismissive of the whole thing, and I think it's really only for the fact that it's for charity that Scar has agreed to do it. And what he sees it as is something that I think links to what we were just talking about, a dearth of storylines, a shortage of running water for people to follow.
Right. You know, the community itself has had so many rivalries over the years, and unfortunately, you know, especially with the era of the gods, it feels like so much focus has been placed on those players only, and the community has been kind of apprehensive to let new players come into their heart or learn about them. And hey, exhibitions or other ways to do that. You know, how many people would care about AMSA if he didn't have those opportunities to make a name for himself? You know, no one knew who AMSA was in this very city 5 years ago, except, you know, a couple of players from Japan who were recording him versus Mr. King. And I happened to walk by and say, okay, this guy's the truth, and I'm recording it. Now I'm an AMSA fan, and I'm telling people you need to watch out for this guy. And he lives up to that. We had to let other people live up to that. We had to let people like Ginger live up to it. Like Zane's living up to it. Pope's been living up to it. Absent Page. There's so many players out there who are on the come up, and they just need that one shot, that one opportunity. And also a big part of it is the streaming. You know, back in the day, I know I'm old. Before streams, you would watch every single set because there wasn't anything else going on there. So you would watch, you know, those sets that didn't make the main setup. And now, you know, a lot of people, they're not interested in that. Some of those sets are the most historic. They might not mean as much to the general populace for that one player. It could be a breakout performance. And if no one's watching it, you know, it doesn't really matter. I think it does, but we need to shine more light on those as well.
I just thought there was a Finnish Falco on stream. Never heard of any Finnish player before. Beat Bladewise, 2-1, slobber knocker, last hit. Maybe if we were giving him time, that Finnish Falco would be AMSA in a few years. You
know, and I think that's also one thing that makes me jealous here at EVO. Just the amount of international players for every other game versus Melee. You know, Melee, we have our players from Europe, and I'm glad we have more of them here. Like, I mean, I saw over Triforce here, one of the first people I've seen. I haven't seen him at a tournament maybe 5-6 years in the States. Now you have, of course, other European players who are coming back. Japan is in the building. Whereas, you know, you look at Street Fighter, Singapore, the Middle East, so on and so forth. What can Melee do to bring that back? And I think, you know, I know a lot of people around the summit were saying, you know, Triff, let's get that Peach player in there. Spain, more representation. And of course, it didn't come to fruition, but the community knows that there are these great players out there. It's just a matter of when lightning strikes for them. Will it happen?
All right. Thank you so much, Prog. That was a really wonderful conversation. Is there anything else you want to say? Any last words? Not to sound grim, but
to everyone who's been watching and supporting this community for no matter how long, thank you, because we don't have stages like this without anyone's support. You know, EVO 2013, I said, you know, I basically knew everyone that was there. 2018, maybe 20%, if at most, and that's like a good guess. And I'm fine with that because it shows exactly how far the community has come and grown. But at the same time, we don't do it without the people at home who are watching, who are making this all happen. So thanks to all of you. Keep supporting, keep this game alive. Show your love.
Thank you again so much, Prog. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in more EVO 2018 coverage, stay tuned to this channel. Thank you. If you like what I do, take a look at those links down in the description below. Thanks, guys.
Wait, what's your Twitter before we go?
Oh, Twitter is at... No. What's your Twitter? What's your Twitter?
You already know my Twitter.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's going to just walk away. All right. Follow me, Adi Pengu, I guess. You know what my Twitter is if you're here.